Hello everyone, my name is Brian, but you can call me the Bugler, and today we're going to be breaking down the Stormcaller Warlock's grenades and comparing the supers from both skill trees. So let's get started. First up, we have the Arc Bolt grenade. This grenade will chain bolts of lightning to nearby enemies. After that, we have the Pulse grenade. When you throw this grenade, it will explode initially and then periodically send out pulses of damage afterwards. And finally, we have the Storm grenade. This grenade calls down a focused lightning storm that damages enemies trapped inside it. Let's take a look at the Arc Bolt grenade first. The Warlock's Arc Bolt grenade is the exact same grenade as the Hunter's version. Therefore, it deals the same amount of damage and has the same properties. But let's take a brief look at it now. Against the Modular Mind, we deal 7 damage for impact, plus 621 for the Lightning Bolt. That gives us a total of 628 damage. It can chain up to 4 times, however, provided the enemies are standing in the right order. It also shares the same amount of damage as the other bolt grenade archetypes, the Axion Bolt and the Firebolt. However, it only shares a cooldown with the Firebolt grenade of 60 seconds. Moving right along, we're going to be talking about the Pulse grenade. This is the same grenade as the Striker Titan's Pulse grenade. Therefore, it deals quite a bit of damage. When you throw this grenade, you will deal an initial explosion damage of half of the pulses afterwards, and it pulses for 5 ticks of damage. This gives us a total of 3,802 to the Modular Mind, which is quite high for a grenade. Let's move on to our final grenade, and one specific to the Stormcaller Warlock, the Storm grenade. When you throw this grenade, an initial bolt of lightning will be sent down, followed by additional bolts afterwards. The additional bolts deal 1.8 times the initial bolt's damage, meaning they deal more. So to the Modular Mind, our initial bolt deals 345, and the bolts afterwards deal 621, for a total of 966. You'll also notice that you're only able to hit enemies with 1 additional bolt of damage, so you can only hit them for a maximum of 2 ticks, the initial bolt and the follow-up. But this grenade has some really strange properties about it. Let's take a closer look at that now. Here we're going to take a look at the range of the grenade. The initial bolt of the grenade has a much smaller range than each bolt afterwards, so it covers quite a bit of area. But what happens when you throw this grenade at the ceiling, let's say? Well, the damage is done where the grenade itself is thrown, not where the lightning is shown to impact. This can really be seen if you throw the grenade where there is a roof above your head. The lightning will pass directly through the roof and still hit the floor to damage enemies where the grenades landed. But things get even weirder from here. If you throw this grenade at a wall where there's no flat surface for the initial bolt to land on, we don't see any additional bolts. Why is that? Let's try that somewhere else, maybe on this tree, let's say. No, same thing. That's really odd. Well, let's try it again, but near some enemies and see what happens. Here you can see that this enemy receives some damage from our initial bolt, although be it a bit fallen off. And then he receives some phantom damage, seemingly from nowhere. This damage comes from the additional bolts that are supposed to spawn after the initial bolt. For some reason, there seems to be a visual glitch when you throw the grenades this way, and your follow-up bolts are invisible, although they are still there and will deal damage, which you can see again now fairly clearly. I knew there was something going on when I was testing these grenades, because it didn't seem like the right amount of lightning bolts were spawning. This seems to be my solution, so if you throw a storm grenade and don't think anything's happening, chances are that damage is still there, it's just not being visually represented. And now it's time for our super comparison. We're starting off with the Attunement of Elements super modifier, Landfall. When you cast Storm Trance, you will fire a bolt of lightning at the ground, causing a devastating shockwave under you. This shockwave deals 4.16 times the additional shocks that you do while during your Storm Trance to enemies at the epicenter of this explosion. The damage fall-off increases from there, but for more specific numbers, refer to my Attunement of Elements video. Let's take a look at the single target damage we can deal against the Modular Mind. The Stormtrance's base duration while zapping an enemy is about 11 seconds. But when you activate Landfall, you cannot utilize this full 11 seconds. You actually lose a bit of that time during the startup of the animation. So we end up with a 10-second zapping duration, giving us 30 ticks of damage. This is 3 zaps per second, or ZPS, TM, for a total damage of 8,505 if you count the 1,035 damage that the Landfall deals. This is quite a significant amount of damage, but we can actually do a bit better with the next skill tree. I'm referring to the skill Transcendence from the Attunement of Conduction skill tree. When you cast Stormtrance with full grenade and melee energy, Stormtrance will last longer and fully restore your health. Let's take a look at that increase. When I did my Attunement of Conduction skill breakdown, I measured Transcendence as lasting for 13 seconds while in an active zap. That means we should just be able to multiply our 3 tick per second rate in order to get our damage ticks. It should be 39, but in practice it's actually only 38. And that's because you can't zap in the instant your super activates. Therefore you miss out on one of those ticks of damage. This gives us 38 ticks of 249 damage for a grand total of 9,462 damage. For those of you keeping score, that would make this the second highest single target damage super that we have. Not only that, it's also an excellent ad control super, making it a pretty good candidate for the best super in the game if you're looking to clear ads. And that's the end of this breakdown. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions about how I conducted the tests, or why I might not have included other footage, please let me know in the comments so I could answer them for you. I'd also like to preempt a question here. I'm willing to bet quite a few of you are curious as to why I did not use Arc Soul during my Attunement of Elements super. That's because Arc Soul is a skill that modifies your neutral game first and foremost. I will be covering the amount of damage that Arc Soul can deal during your super in my Warlock Best in Show video when I talk about the highest damaging super possible, if it does in fact make it your highest damaging super. In my next video, which I'll be releasing later tonight, I'll give you a channel update on what my future plans are for the content of this channel, seeing as we've officially now finished all of our subclass breakdowns. So once again, thanks for watching. I hope I see you next time, and good luck getting through the exclusion zone.